Hello and welcome back to Campo Largo. We will be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, is after Elder Hartley had a really weird experience with this. I guess they call them investigators, the people who are who seem to be interested in the whole Mormon faith thing, and they're the people who I guess delve into it to the point where they are right there, right at the precipice of doing their whole Mormon baptism thing. So, yeah. And as far as they could tell from all the records and everything, he was a prime candidate. It's just that for some reason, he never got baptized. And considering the fact that he apparently delves in the occult, I'm not even sure if it would be called the occult, but more so into, would esoteric be the right word? Like, there's tarot cards, he does palm readings, and I guess there's also like the readings of like the faces and stuff like that. And and he not only researched the Mormon faith, but also a whole bunch of different religions and belief systems. So could it be that he just was doing research, or perhaps maybe something else happened, or the fact that he was into all these different weird things? That's like, yeah, as much as you delved into our belief system, we can't actually baptize you like that. But then there's also the whole thing of um something happening, and then all of a sudden the two people that were there stationed, the elders, just were called back for some weird reason that nobody knows why. So yeah. Anywho, so eyes. Eyes reflected in the mirror. Eyes that are not Elder Hartley's. So yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about probably. Anyway, so yeah, let's continue. Chapter 2. I smack the light switch. I blink as the bright lights flicker, then floods the room. My face appears in the mirror, drawn in white and black and brown and bone. I lean in. My eyes are brown, pupils circular and black, like normal. There's no ghostly, pale cast to them at all. And, looking around, unnerved, nothing else, no one else, is in the room with me. Of course not. Nothing can get in. The walls are solid brick and concrete. The door is locked, the windows shuttered and solidly barred. But as I quiet my breathing, bracing myself on the sink, I look up again to stare at my face. At my wide eyes. My wide eyes. You're alright, I tell myself. Just jumpy. Weird guy, creepy stuff, bad dreams. I narrow my eyes at my reflection, one last moment of scrutiny. Then I break eye contact. When I pass by the mirror on my way out, I steal another glance. Out of fear, caution, morbid curiosity? I don't know, honestly. But it's just my face, again. I shudder with the thought that I could have seen something else. I've just got frayed nerves after a sleepless night. And I go about the rest of my morning preparations, trying not to think about it. I have other things, more important things to do. There are people depending on me to help them, and I can't afford distraction. The first thing that we do that morning is to stop by the Vargas family. Thinking that we'd be in Conquista today, we'd cancel the lunch appointment, and having lost the phone, I smack myself internally. We couldn't call last night about the change in plan. Luckily, Hermana Vargas said that they could still host us. They'd stock up before the corte. Presidente Vargas would still be coming home from work for the siesta too. Lunch plans, check. Morning plans, not quite check. We managed to sit down with two new people, but one declines a second visit explicitly and the other is non-committal. The heat begins its daily climb early, and by the time that we get to Los Vargas, I'm sweating. I'm used to it, growing up in the Midwest, but the desert elders, only familiar with dry heat, all complain. I decide not to complain early on my mission about anything. I don't think that it's a productive attitude, Will admit that I'm glad for a companion whose daily small talk doesn't always return to atmospheric miseries. Hermana Vargas welcomes us to her place and grabs a few chairs so that we can take a seat outside while she finishes cooking and until Presidente gets home. Luckily, there is a sliver of shade by the northwest side of the house into which I can retire. As always, there's already a fuzzy-edged strip of dull brown smeared up and over one shoulder of my shirt. Dust adhering to sweat and getting ground into the white fabric by the strap of my scripture bag. Elder Suarez sets his chair down next to me, full on in the sun, leaning back, extending his legs and squinting into the middle distance. The sound of the Presidente's moto catches us a couple of minutes later. He spots us before he parks the moto, and his first action is to greet us, a big smile on his blunt muzzle. We go inside where it is thankfully slightly cooler. Hermana Vargas brings over the meal. Guiso again, but this time with noodles instead of rice. Presidente asks Elder Suarez if he'd offer the prayer and then we dive in. I grab one of the ubiquitous bread rolls from the plate and peel off some layers, mopping up the spreading guiso sauce. So Andres, what's the work like here in our little town? I trade a glance with Elder Suarez and turn back to Presidente. It's fine, not so different from Puerto Mocavi. Ah, right, down by Conquista. Very nice. Elder Suarez adds his assessment. Going well, I think. Our forks clink a moment. It was great to see Los Duran in church on Sunday. I was in Young Men's the last time that I remember seeing them in the branch building. Working with less active members was one of the most effective uses of my time down in La Plata, I know. Oh right, I recall. She served her mission down in the capital. Yes, you don't have to teach everything from scratch, and sometimes they're ready to take on responsibilities once they're back at church. Not to mention that the more people in the Sunday meetings, the more lively it is for investigators. All very good points. And sometimes they've got referrals for us too. Is that so? Any good ones so far? And give us some time. We haven't even been here 2 weeks yet. Presidente scrunches up his face in a glare. I know it's silly, but I wonder for a moment if an otter could ever succeed at being menacing. And why haven't you baptized the whole town yet, eh? Presidente's glare gives way to a comical, squeaky laugh. Just kidding, of course. I know you're still probably doing contacts on the street. Only a couple. My tone makes my underestimation obvious. Presidente and Hermana Vargas both give a knowing chuckle. So, it's a bit irrelevant, I suppose, but on my mission, we'd sometimes play games with contacts. One was to take random lines from the family, a proclamation to the world, and figure out how to turn them into questions. Now that's curious. The referenced document, often just called Family Proclamation, was published in 1995 by the First Presidency. It summarizes the church's teachings about the family and is often even framed in Mormons' homes. Hermana Vargas clears her throat, sits up straighter, and puts on the facial expression and vocal inflection of a missionary meeting a stranger. It's quite the transformation, and my brain spares a moment for self-consciousness. Do I adjust my bearings so dramatically when walking up to someone? I cringe slightly, but how else are we supposed to approach strangers? Hermana Vargas extends her hand to an unseen contact. Buen dia, hermana. Why do you think that we're here on Earth? Presidente follows suit. Evidently, they've done this before. Buenas tardes. Do you think parents have duties towards their children? Which duties? Buenas tardes. Do you think that parents have duties towards their children? Which duties? They exchange a glance, half conspiracy and half competitiveness. It's a match of ping pong proclamation. Proselyting? Now. Hermano, why does marriage exist? Hermana, did you ever think that if we have a father in heaven, shouldn't we have a mother in heaven too? I've never brought up Heavenly Mother during a contact. I wonder if they actually used any of these lines in real life. Lindo día, no? By the way, Do you think children deserve to be raised by both father and a mother? They're running through these, wearing masks of complete earnestness. I get the suspicion that they're trying to get the other to laugh. The difference between these and normal contacts is humorous, I'll admit, as well as the thought of just running up to a random person and blindsiding them with a question like this. Perdón, lo siento. Do you think that you'd still like a man after you die? Okay. How would someone respond to that? Besides, think the missionaries are super weird. Do you believe your marriage will last after death? That's a tricky one, actually. Most people would likely say yes, contradicting their church's theologies. Have you studied the Bible? Why did God create Adán y Eva and not Adán y Seba? The pawn almost gets Hermana Vargas to break her composure. Seba is short for Sebastián. I feel warmth rise up in my ears as my left one flicks back. And then Hermana Vargas leans over close to her husband and, in a low voice my actually attuned ears can barely hear, whispers, "Do you think the powers of procreation are sacred?" Presidente lets out a snicker and gives his wife a playful shove backwards to her chair. They try to look serious, but it only lasts for a moment. They break into chuckles again. I look over to Elder Suarez. He's been paying attention, as his posture indicates, but I don't think that he heard the last line. I give him a shrug, pretending that I missed it too. I hope my ears didn't move to betray me earlier. Sorry about that, Eldris. As you can see, it was, quite the entertaining game. Elder Suarez nods. Evidently. The otter couple continues to restrain their amusement, and Presidente makes to move to get his somewhat undignified giggles under control. He clears his throat. I look forward to the new conversation topic it heralds. We don't get much of that down here. The gay stuff, I mean. Although we know that it's a big deal up in the States. Or maybe not a new topic. I nod in acknowledgement that gay stuff is indeed a big deal back home. State constitutional amendments to ban gay marriage have been a staple of campaign seasons for years now. My own home state banned it in 2004. I don't get why they don't just relabel them as civil unions and let religions conduct whatever wedding ceremonies they like after the couple's visit to the civil registry, kind of like they do here in Parana. Wasn't there a church member who was a governor of a state a couple of years back when they made gay marriage illegal? Wasn't that your state, Elder Hartley? The spotlight turns to me. 4 otter eyes, 2 snake ones. Mentally, I'd already shifted into dispassionate analysis mode. Good. I'll prove factual information, but I won't engage in political conversation. Per the missionary handbook. That was Narragansett, actually. I'm from Menomine, almost 2,000 kilometers apart as it happens. Ah, right. An image of the governor's face, ever so familiar, comes to mind. His species and fur coloration. The fur on my arms begins to rise before I rapidly swat away the slide in my mental projector. I hear he's running for president now. I hope he can help set things right up there. Yeah, it's too bad that so many people are getting led astray on such matters. Presidente, acting another role, shrugs and affects the voice of a hawker in a market. Philosophies of man mingle with scripture. Get 'em here. Cost your soul. The hermana responds with a shake of the head and a scriptural citation. They are only kept from the truth because they know not where to find it. Ah, true. And that's what you're for. He sweeps a webbed finger hand through the air, indicating me and Elder Suarez. I don't like that we're dwelling on this. I find myself debating what to say or whether to say anything, or how to segue into a new conversation altogether. The hermana preempts me with an inquisitive tone. Has anyone asked you two about this? No. Nope. We answer nearly simultaneously and she nods. But I've opened my mouth. The decision to speak came so quickly that I didn't even notice that I'd made it. Uncharacteristically, I didn't even run a cursory cost-benefit analysis. Actually, on the topic, did either of you read the October 2007 Liahona? The Liahona is a church's non-English magazine. They look at each other and then away, trying to remember. I'm not sure. I started. I've got to follow through now. Well, there is an article in there by Elder Vanderberg, one of the apostles, talking about folks with same-gender attraction. While I'm talking, Hermana Vargas' brow furrowed, leaving the room. I can hear her unseen, momentarily leafing through the papers in her bedroom. I pause a little anxious, not sure if I should continue my explanation. She returns, a magazine in hand. It's the right one. The cover depicts a smiling couple on their way to the temple. The temple isn't pictured, but they've both got their briefcase-sized fabric zipper bags used for carrying ceremonial temple clothing. A mundane detail, a bit of an in-group code, honestly weird to display front and center. She sets it on the table and slides it over to me. My heart is thudding. I pull it the rest of the way to me and open it, flipping through the pages and articles. As everyone watches, there's the title, Helping Those Who Struggle with Same-Gender Attraction. I'd read it in English one week when Elder Brooks was sick. I was stuck with him in the bench and read everything. Days get very long in a 3-room apartment when you're stuck with someone who's not talking. Or was it the day that we stayed in while I shed my velvet? No matter. I'll admit that I was half afraid that it would be one of the articles that hadn't made it into the Spanish translation, that I'd be recommending those Vargases read something that they couldn't understand. Now I'm half afraid that I opened the door to further conversation about it. I feel my fur, still moist with sweat, try to bristle under my shirt, between my shoulders. Something's off. But I talk it down. And I try to be coherent and succinct. So, he makes a couple of good points. One is that, same-sex attraction isn't anyone's fault. We don't know why it happens. I perceive 3 sets of eyes, all still looking at me. All their ears are too small to move, but I can feel the auditory attention. Mine flicks back, sheepish, but I consciously force them forward. I'm reporting an apostle's words from a church publication, just that. An attraction mostly doesn't really change. Marriage, for instance, isn't a cure. A thought enters. Oh heavens, I haven't even thought that Elder Suarez might want to talk about it later. I see the Vargas family twice a week mostly, only alone with them for Tuesday lunch. I'm with him 24/7. Another is that attraction isn't a sin by itself. So folks who don't act on it are still worthy, keeping their covenants. I honestly can't remember any of the other points in the short article. Those were the ones that stuck in my memory. I hastened to wrap up. Anyway, I thought that it was a good article. Recommended. I push the magazine across the table to them, Presidente quirks his head into an alignment with the text. My brain shouts, "You're not supposed to read it now." Distraction needed. An idea. So, what about the Corte de Ruta? Any news about that? Success. Their heads pop up and sink. Hermana, still standing, takes the magazine and sets it open to the article, atop the television. She returns to the table and sits. Not much that I've heard. Earlier the news was saying that the governor could be coming to town today to try to negotiate with the protesters. He lets out a deep sigh. At least we got some food. The store's got some shipments today, I heard. But much less than normal. Our country has so many problems, truly. Just last year. My purpose has been accomplished. They're on another set of conversational rails. Meanwhile, I've jumped the tracks altogether, the wreckage of my train of thought jumbled and disjointed. One car might be on fire. I hope Campo Largo has a fire truck. It's not good for a train to derail into the middle of town. As I visualize this adamantly absurd metaphor, a bizarre attempt at amusing myself through metacognition, a figure intrudes on the crash scene. From where, I don't know. He's just there, suddenly. A white horse, clad in dark clothing despite the summer day. He's looking at the train wreck. But then he starts turning. I jerk up out of my chair. Presidente stops mid-sentence and looks at me. Sorry, I have to use the bathroom. I'll be right back. Sure, of course. Anyway, as I was saying, I don't hear the rest, clopping across the unfinished concrete to the bathroom. It's also unfinished concrete and stucco with basic amenities. I close the door behind me. I stand there looking down into the sink, hands braced on the sink, breathing. Breathing heavily. In through the mouth, I tell myself. Out through the nose. I repeat it until my heart has finally calmed mostly down. I exhale. I didn't actually need to use the toilet, but I flush it anyway, in case someone's listening. Then I wash my hands and, for good measure, my face. The soapy water streams off slightly brown. Dust. Dust everywhere. Mouth open as water drips from my nose and fur, I reflexively look up into the mirror. There's my face. My face. All the angles and curves right, colors and textures right. I breathe in. And, importantly, looking back at me, my eyes. I breathe out. I turn the faucet handle. The water flow stops. Elder Suarez doesn't ask me about the Liahona article. Throughout lunch and study and evening teachings, he doesn't ask. As we get back home to the bench, I'm still bracing myself for a question. As we plan and fill out the area book with information about our unremarkable afternoon, I await. It never comes. Companionship prayer over, still kneeling beside my bed, I switch to personal prayers. I give thanks for a resource in Spanish that I could share with Los Vargas. And, hesitatingly, I give thanks for questions unuttered. Some allege that the Arts and Letter Building is a brutalist eyesore, a scab of raw concrete amid a campus-loving stone, but rest, brick bastioned. Those accusers have never been to its roof at sunset. I'm not sure if students are supposed to be up here, but they are, all the time. Eastward are the tall buildings of the city center. Westward, though, there is nothing taller until the hills on the horizon. The view is spectacular. That's why we've come here together. That's why I've come here alone. The sun hovers above the silhouetted hills. We're seated on the gravel of the roof. It's slightly uncomfortable under my rear, but my arms over my shoulders, warm in the cool breeze of the late spring evening, balances it out. Someone left a metal folding chair up here. Convenient. I take the seat, my envelope still unopened in my lap as I watch the sunset. Hey. I squeeze her shoulders and give a smile. She returns it, but there is something behind it. Some hesitation. I finger the envelope between my hooves, slipping my first finger under the flap, but I don't tear it yet. 2 years is a long time. No, I don't think that I can write an epistolary novel. I pull my phone out of my pocket. 7:42. The sun will set soon. I need to do this before it's dark. What does this mean to you? She gestures between us. What am I to you? I flip my phone open and go to the contacts. I'm stalling. I know the number. I punch it in. You're a beautiful daughter of God? Is that all? I press the call button, raise the phone to my ear. She scoots away, gravel crunching beneath her, shrugging off my arm. Her smile has long since wilted. That's my mother who picks up. Yes, I got it. Just arrived in the mail today. We're sitting there, unspeaking, 2 feet apart, as the sun blazes the last of its daily fires, the dark creeping up behind us. Hold on. I don't know. I haven't opened it yet. I was waiting. Sorry, Travis. I can't take this. You're nice, but I can't. She gets up, hugging her torso against the slight chill. I tucked the phone between my ears and shoulder to free up a hand. Okay, I'm opening the envelope now. No, look, it's important to you. More important than... It's open. I've got it. Okay, here we go. Dear Elder Hartley. See you later. I'm slack-jawed as I rise and turn, my back to the sun, calling out. You are hereby called to serve as a missionary of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You are assigned to labor in Parana Conquista Mission. Standing, I watch her descend out of sight down the ladder to the patio just below the roof. I put the letter on my lap to juggle my phone to the other ear. Yes, Parana in South America. No, I don't know where Conquista is exactly. By the time that I reach the edge of the roof, she's already disappeared into the building. She didn't even look back. A gust of sudden wind and the call letter spins out of my lap. I stare blankly over the campus into the darkening east, and I watch for a split second as the paper flutters away. Over the edge of the roof. It's gone. I can only spare a split second for astonishment, shock, despair. Sorry, I have to go. I end the call and stash my phone, hurriedly gathering the rest of the letter materials and stuffing them back into the envelope. I rush to look over the building's edge, flat on my stomach so that I don't tumble over and fall 7 stories. I watch the letter lazily drift down towards the HVAC systems alongside the base of the building. Okay, I know where it fell. I can retrieve it. I race down to the concrete maze of the building. I burst out of the front doors and towards the corner to where the letter... The city is gone. The campus is gone. In its place is a vast expanse of vegetation. I would say a meadow, but it's more... brush. Extending into the crepuscular distance. I know where the letter fell, though. I start trotting in that direction. Luckily, I can see over the brush. There it is, bright paper against soil bathed in blue dusk light. I run up to it, stop. I test the object with one claw. It crinkles. I put my head down, forward, to sniff it. A sound behind me. I tense, ears pivoting towards the groaning, the rumble, the crack, and then I turn. The building, illuminated by the last beams of dying sun, is nearly overhead. Floating. I watch as it's rising, untethered from earth, begins to crumble, giant boulders and blocks of concrete breaking off. My fur rises with fear. I run. And jolt awake, my eyes snap open. I gasp. I'm in my bedroom, in the pench, in Campo Largo. I'm not atop the arts and letters buildings back at home. I'm not with her, in her room, up late writing papers. I'm not facing her tears. And no structures are threatening to fall down on me. In the whole town, come to think of it, I think that I can count the 2-story buildings on my 6 fingers. I sigh my relief. Like last night, it's oddly brighter than normal in here. I can even make out the big lump on the other bed that is Elder Suarez, back to me and legs and arms visible under his blanket. 3:47 reads the clock. Okay, tonight I'll need to get back to sleep. It's then that I snap to attention as I notice a couple of things. First is an unusual scent. It's subtle, but rank all the same. I can't place it. Second is that my skin under my fur feels exceptionally sensitive. Every rustle of garment or sheet zips up my nerves to my brain, declaring itself like some medieval herald upon arrival. The third is that my retainer has come loose in my mouth. I try to shove it back against my upper teeth with my tongue, but it's not going. Oh no. Has it broken somehow? Medical care is generally fine down here, but I don't know about orthodontics. If it's broken and I can't get it fixed or replaced, I can't afford to go through braces again. I cast aside my sheet and the fan's air hits my exposed fur, activating a wave of sensations that washes over me like an external shiver. Am I getting a fever too? I hope not. I make my way over to the door into the short hall, into the bathroom. I don't look at my reflection before I turn the light on. I don't need any specters. The light comes on, and I've already popped the retainer into my hand. Barely have I quizzically registered that it looks normal, unchanged, then I notice something that looks different. The fur on my arms. It's the wrong shade of brown. Not a dusty dark tan, but a deep reddish orange, fading to black at the hands. My heart starts up again. The fur is also a good deal longer, almost shaggy, especially as I go up my arms. I lift up the hem of my garment top. The fur has followed my torso down from my shoulders to my navel and beyond. My knees are the same, the deep rusty color of Martian soil, of San Ignacio soil. Then, like the hands, it goes black above my hooves. Something is very wrong. Sure, I get a winter coat every year. Could this be your winter coat? No, I'd have lost my antlers already. And a winter coat for me is never this lengthy, never this color. I run my fingers through the fur on my stomach, and each strand signals at its affirmative existence in my nerves. Out of curiosity, I sniff myself. And that's the smell, right there. It's me. I have no idea what to do with this. So I force it aside and move on. To the thing that I've avoided. The retainer sits neglected on the edge of the sink. Studiously, not looking at the mirror, I run my tongue over my teeth and my mouth. I furrow my brow. That's not right. I dare to look up. My eyes, I note first, are right. My fur, however, is the same reddish hue. I repress my reaction. It's a dream. It's not real. I put that fact on my mental shelf for a moment as I open my mouth. There it is, exactly what my tongue told me was there. Bracketing each set of incisors is a set of fangs. Canine teeth. Which I don't have. A part of my brain perpetually pedante brings up musk deer and water deer end. I snarl at it, mentally to shut up. That's not the point. The point is this. I don't have fangs. Me, Elder Travis Alma Hartley, certified cervine, do not have fangs. I stand there baffled, a mental dike holding back a tsunami of emotions. The fur, it felt real, feels real. I raise a finger tentatively but determined. The long, sharp tooth that I notice is solid, clinking against my hoof tip, reporting the pressure to my upper jaw. This has to be a dream. I'm still asleep. This is impossible. I close my mouth, hiding the... I decide to be practical. I'm going to go back to bed and force myself onto a different dream track. So I stash my dream retainer in its dream case. Facing my unfamiliar dream reflection, I glare and point. You, my friend, are going to disappear by morning. It does not speak back. Satisfied, I turn off the dream light and slink back into my dream bed. The sensitivity of my dream skin doesn't help with my objective, but I remember that time that we tried meditating in high school English class. I try to run through the steps. I tense up and relax each part of my dream body in turn, counting and measuring my breaths. Rinse and repeat. January 16th, 2008, Wednesday. I wake up with my 6:30 alarm. And in my prayers, I give thanks that I could get back to sleep in my dreams. The images and emotions of the dreams are still with me though, and I plead for help to control them. I don't need melancholy or fear, memories of home or ravings of an anxious mind disabling me today, drawing me away from work. And when I start my morning routine and find that my retainer is already in the bathroom in its case, not in my verifiably normal mouth, in my verifiably normal face, I decide decisively to ignore it. That doesn't last long, though. The scent that I sensed as I make my bed whispers to me. And in the bathroom, under the sink, I find a strand of long, reddish fur. My brain tries to convince me that it's from a previous resident of the pench. My reasoning is important against my unease. I've cleaned this bathroom since moving in, and it was spotless when we arrived. All through personal study, when I try to read scripture, I barely get through a verse before I realize that my eyes are scanning the pages without taking anything in. Instead, I'm trying to come up with an alternative explanation. You may have tracked it on the fur, picked it up from some investigator. Who? The black and white bovine? The iguana? What did you sit in yesterday that stank? I think that I could have noticed it earlier, and it wasn't on my pants. You must have forgotten to put your retainer in last night. That one, at least, was plausible. You blew your chance. What? You blew your one chance. I'm suddenly back on the Arts and Letters building, looking down, eastwards, and into the oncoming dark, after her. No. I'm a better missionary than this. I decided months ago that I wasn't going to think back about home. I wasn't going to get trunky like the other elders, yearning so hard to be there that I waste my time here. I'm here for a purpose. I can only do this one time in my life, darn it, and I'm going to make it count. Of course, though, today is P Day. We don't proselyte until 1800 hours, when the personal study wraps up at 900 hours. 9 hours of time for ourselves yawn ahead of us. All that time not working is a luxury that I don't want. Not now, at least. Grocery shopping comes first. We want to beat the rush. But when we arrive, we find that the shelves of non-perishables are already picked mostly bare. I pick up a couple of suspiciously soft apples and a handful of slightly bendy carrots in addition to as many canned fruits and vegetables and bags of provender that I can carry. Elder Suarez goes for some of the odd canned meats alongside the substandard cuts that remained in the refrigerator. Elder Suarez also wanted to write a letter and get it to the post office before it closes at noon, so it's back to the bench. As he writes, I do laundry in the sink out back. But not only dark slacks and white sheets and garments. This time I've stripped the bed and scrunched the oddly scented sheets, kneading my will to forget into a growing pile of suds. We make it to the post office just in time. Already out and about, we've stopped by the Sieber next for our weekly hour of writing to our families. As I log into my missionary email account, I see my inbox populate. There is a letter from my mother, one forwarded from an aunt. And nothing from her. I don't know why I thought that. In accordance with mission rules, she and I never exchange emails, which were reserved for family. Besides, we'd been writing as friends, just friends. So dutifully, I sent my thoughts via handwritten letters. Dutifully, she'd written back. For a time. I haven't heard a response in a couple of months. Why am I dwelling on this? I fire up a new draft and pound out the events of last week on the keyboard, from the success with the Durans to the Corta de Ruta. As the clock ticks away, literally there is a timer counting up the seconds and minutes in the corner of the screen. A thought comes to mind. Technically, we're not supposed to write at Siebers with privacy barriers between the computers. We're supposed to be able to see each other's screens at all times. And if we can't avoid using computers with privacy screens, technically we're supposed to take turns when sitting by while the other writes. A preventative measure. But here in Campo Largo's largest and most reliable Sieber, with its 6 computers, consistent internet connection, and relatively few localized blackouts, the cubicles are small and there are privacy screens. My new thought recalls the strangeness of the previous night. Fur and fangs. I don't know why I'm entertaining this. It's dumb. It's so dumb. But I finish my letter to my family and press send. I take a breath. Every culture seems to have a myth about anthropics turning into raving, etheric predators. And some say that myths harken back to the depredations of Roman invaders or canine cavalries from the steppes. But others say that they go back even further, to Greece for sure, even to Babylon, where Nebuchadnezzar, of biblical fame, was reported to have believed himself a etheric wolf. Someone in Puerto Mocavi had once dropped the Baranero word for the myth, but nothing else about any local versions. Lobizon. It's so dumb. It's all fake, myths, made up Hollywood. But I open a new window and see it, the search bar. What I'm about to do is forbidden, in addition to dumb. We're only supposed to access my lsdmail.net. But I type it in, Lobizon, and press enter. The transgression makes my heart pound, makes my fur feel electrified. I skim through the results, keeping one eye on every person who passes in front of me. The large jaguar in the cubicle facing mine, spotted arms visible up to his shoulder, is engrossed in his own thing. Why would he be paying attention to me anyway? I'm just being paranoid. I look back at the screen. At the top are a couple of cryptozoology blogs with basic outlines. Apparently the legend goes that the 7th daughters become witches and 7th sons become lobizons. I note, stupidly, that I'm the first child in my family. Some say that they turn into wolves, some even say a mixture of wolf and pig. Some mention the full moon, others don't. Some say that they transform every Tuesday and Friday. Others allege that the condition isn't solely congenial, but that it can also be spread, not by a bite, but by the lobizon passing between someone's legs. For the unfortunate lobizons by birth, Catholic baptism is apparently seen as the only effective means to permanently prevent murderous transformations. I snort once. That's certainly a new justification for infant baptism, probably building off the one that I frequently heard down here, that baptism protects infants from demons. There's one article that talks about a Paranero law, about a century old, whereby every 7th son or a daughter receives the president of the republic as a godparent, in addition to a stipend and free education. The article hypothesizes that this was to incentivize families to baptize their 7th children instead of killing them in superstitious fear. It's all bunk. It's all inconsistent, fragmentary, unsourced. I'm so dumb for expecting anything different. I'm about to close the search window when I see a result from a site that I recognize as a local newspaper. Lobizon, shot near Aramburu. The headline reads. I click on it. Every time that I read non-colloquial Spanish that isn't a translation from English, I get a shock at the difference in style. It's like Elder Suarez at the grave dedication, wholly different, unique structures and vocabulary. But I get the gist. A tall, apparently quadrupedal dog-like creature was spotted on the outskirts of Aramburu. Witnesses called it a lobizon. One of them had a gun licensed for hunting and shot it. The article says that the experts from Aramburu Zoo identified it as an endangered aguara guazu, and the hunter was charged. Wait, what's an aguara guazu? There's no image. It looks like a Guarani term. I return to the search bar and type it in. Aguarana. Ready, Elder? I jolt, my chair legs squeaking against the tile floor. Elder Suarez is right there, standing behind the monitor, tucking his thumb behind a scripture bag strap, looking down at me, looming. I quickly, reflexively close the newspaper website window, and I notice that the timer on the screen has counted up to 1:07:47. I've gone over our allotted time. Thanks for being patient. Just wrapped up everything actually. Thanks for being patient. He nods as I close out my session. I don't think that he saw my screen. How could he have? But why does he think that I jumped? As I approach the counter and hand over a couple of pesos for the computer time, I interrogate myself. Elder Hartley, what are you even doing? Hiding things? Misleading? Breaking rules? You're not like this. Except a dark voice suggests, perhaps you are. That's it. I decide during lunch. This ends now. I can't have delusions and memories on my mind like this. I can't have things tempting me. I can't be breaking rules. An eye single in the glory of God qualifies him for the work. A sole focus. And if something goeth not out through prayer alone, then I need to turn to an additional source of spiritual power, fasting. I shovel the last bits of provendor sandwich into my mouth and guzzle down a full liter of water for good measure. I'd already drunk a liter when we first arrived back at the bench, just like I did before leaving. I hadn't needed to use the toilet since this morning, though. You can credit the Yana heat for that. It all comes out in sweat. So if I'm going to abstain from food and water until lunch tomorrow, I'll prepare. After I'm done, I retreat to the bedroom. Elder Suarez has already gone out to do his laundry. I can hear the splashing in the sink just outside the shuttered bedroom window. I kneel down beside my bed and mutter the words under my breath, vocally, but not audibly. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank Thee for this day that we have to take care of our necessities and to write to our families. I thank Thee for Your care towards them in my absence. Father, I would like to repent of a transgression today. I should not have broken my promise to follow mission rules by visiting other websites. It was a distraction. From my family, from the work, and from Thee. It tempted me down paths of thought that would have kept me from serving Thy children to the best of my ability. And so I begin this fast with a purpose, to avoid such future temptations, and to be able to set aside memories of home, of college, of useless rumors, so that I can focus on what I'm here to do. I pray for Thine assistance, and that of Thy Spirit, as I try to make my eyes single to Thee. Help me have a broken heart and a contrite spirit, and to hear and do Thine will. These things that I pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. I let the words hang in the air, in my mind, and I listen to the quiet broken only by the rhythmic, sudsy sloshings from outside. The quiet echoes inside of me. There's that peace I sought. Okay, I'll be good now. And that's where I'm going to leave it for today. So, there really is something weird going on with Elder Hartley. He appears to be turning canine-like, or at least he feels that he's becoming that. But I also hazard a guess that perhaps there is something else going on with Elder Hartley, and it isn't just that he is transforming into a werewolf, that perhaps something that he's holding in is breaking out. It's more or less, um, instead of it coming out as him saying what it is, and you can probably hazard a guess as to what it might be, considering the conversation with the Vargas family, um, that perhaps that piece of information is manifesting itself as this outward physical transformation, this Lobizon. Um, yeah, so like I think that's what's happening because even at the beginning in what I would probably call like the prologue portion of the story, the very, very beginning of the story, there is like a little slight slip up of Elder Hartley where they're doing, I think, the independent study, I think. And he muses like, wait a minute, was Jesus Christ gay? He's like, wait, no, 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 I wasn't thinking that. Oh my God, did he hear me think that in my own mind? Um, so yeah, like, I think our little Servine is a little spicy. Uh, that's not the word that I wanted to use, but like I literally had it on the tip of my tongue and it just erased. But like, yeah. And I think hiding it is manifesting itself, but we'll see. Other than that, I think one of the little funny things though, that popped out to me is when he was reading the article online and he mentioned that the Spanish that was written for the article is very different from the Spanish that he's used to. It's kind of true because even with me, the Spanish that I'm used to, which is Mexican Spanish, is very different from the Spanish that I frequently hear when I'm talking to Mati Zordi, the creator of Home Somewhere Else, because he's from Chile, which is, in South America. So his Spanish is very, very different. And even when talking sometimes with Jaden, who has a whose Spanish is, from Colombia, um, his Spanish can sometimes be a little different, but with him it's a little bit easier because his Spanish and our Spanish is a little more similar than mine and Zordi's, which is a little different. But yeah, even sometimes with Tanner, who's writing the Cycles, which is like the fan echo story with Leo. Um, he's from Brazil, so it's easier to speak to him in English than it is to speak to him in Spanish because, you know. But yeah, that's one of the little things that is true, that the Spanish is the languages, I guess, vary depending on where you are. What else? What else? What else? It also is a little not funny, but it's true that with the Mormons, you always see them paired up because they can never be really apart. They have to be together. They mostly always have to do everything together. So like right there, how Elder Hartley was saying, like right here in the computer things that we're supposed to be doing, we're supposed to be right next to each other so that we have like full view of what the other one is doing. Because we're supposed to keep each other in line, basically. Which is a little weird, but like, it's what they're taught to do. Um but he was saying like, well, we have privacy screens and things like that, so it's not really necessary because we really wouldn't be able to see what the other one is doing anyway. So like, he can go sit in another spot if he wants because he wouldn't be able to see either way. But like yeah, that's one of the things that's always true. And again, the whole thing where they have to wait outside of the Vargas family until the man of the house arrives. So that's why the wife set up the chairs for them to sit outside. These are all things that you already know from the previous videos, but I'm just rehashing them again, I guess. What else? But yeah, the Vargas is bringing up the same sex thing. I feel like it is like a big bright hint as to what's going on with Elder Hartley, especially because he seemed to be panicking about it. I mean, he did have a girlfriend, it seems, but I mean, I had a girlfriend and I'm a homosexual, so but yeah. Anyways, I'm pretty sure that's gonna come up if that is indeed what's going on. Anywho, so what are your thoughts? Write it down in the comments, and thank you all for watching/listening. If you would like to play Campo Largo yourself, you can do so by going down to the link in the description, which will have a direct link for the YouTube page where you can download and play the game yourself. They do have a Patreon and a Ko-fi, as you can see right there at the bottom left. So you can subscribe and support the project. And as again, like religion never really melds well or never plays nicely with LGBT stuff. But as far as I can see, if this is what's happening with this story, it seems to be handling it quite well so far. I don't know what's gonna happen later on, but like yeah. So I don't think that this is wholly that. I think it's more of a story about a character who is struggling with that as a Mormon, and this was written as by a person who um was sort of like, hey, so have you ever thought about Mormons? Like, here you go. Here's a story about them. And the character might be a little spicy. But yeah. Anyways, if you'd like to support the channel, become a channel member. Does help support me, supports the channel, tells me that you like the videos. Um And like you get to watch these videos as they're being scheduled earlier before the public. And yeah, so like money monthly basis, videos earlier than usual. But yeah, and I hope to get back to cooking again. I gotta think of like cool things to make. I can't just like make normal Mexican food and be like, hey, look, Mexican food. You'd be like, oh, okay, we can just order this. Like, I wanna find things that I can cook that will be interesting for you guys. I mean, I'm gonna make empanadas today, but that's just frozen dough. I don't know how to make empanada dough. I should learn how to do that. Anyways, Ko-fi. I have a Ko-fi. Support her there if you want to instead. And I have a throne. Anywho, so yeah. I guess that's it for now, and I'll see you guys in the next part. Bye-bye.